We say goodbye to the 2000s and say hello to the 2010s, where also I hit the double-digit mark of 10, and another Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was coming, but it did mark the end of an era for 3 participants in the parade. The first is the announcer of the parade, Joe Goddard, who had been announcing since 2000. The second was one of the hosts, Meredith Vieira, who has been hosting since 2006, as she ended her time co-hosting The Today Show in mid-2011. But the biggest one of all, the parade's executive producer since 2001, Robin Hall, hanging up his top hat for the final time and handing the gold scissors to the new parade's executive producer, who started with this year with Robin, Amy Kule. For the parade itself, it did mark the debut of some notable ones that would be a parade favorite for many years, like the Power Rangers, the South Dakota float of Mount Rushmore, and the star of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Greg Heffley, as a recurring balloon favorite, especially with the massive collab between the parade studio and author Jeff Kinney. On top of that, some well-known artists from many generations and different genres of music all come together and brings us 26 songs. This is my ranking of the songs of the 2010 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Number 26, Let's Come Together and This Is My Land by Crystal Shawanda. Native Canadian country singer Crystal Shawanda gives us the Thanksgiving spirit with the performance of Let's Come Together and This Is My Land. And that's it. Yeah, like John Pizzarelli's performance in last year's parade, I can't think of anything else to talk about here, because when I tried researching these songs and even with the lyrics, none of the songs from her did not match with the other 2 songs from the parade. So basically, like I Wanna Play Santa, this is a parade exclusive, and having the least impact of 2 unknown songs is why it's at the bottom. Number 25, My Only Wish by Jessica Simpson. The big sister of Ashley Simpson and once married to 98 Degrees' Nick Lachey, the multi-talented Jessica Simpson had her 7th and second Christmas album called Happy Christmas. One of the 2 songs she wrote on the album were new songs, which track number 1 of that album that got a single release she performs, My Only Wish. Now, Jessica has talked about her experience in the parade's 85th anniversary special in 2011. As she stated how nervous she was being in the parade, mainly because she had no one close to talk to. So she asked her publicist to be on the board and salt float with her, although she had to be dressed as a chef. As much as the album had gotten some good reviews, the song itself, well, I have to ask you all this. Does that song sound familiar to all of you? Well, My Only Wish is basically a ripoff of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. You can tell with the lyrics, especially the main verse. And she said My Only Wish for Christmas Is You twice for the parade's performance. Probably they should have done the other original song from the album, Kiss Me for Christmas, instead. Also, just for this performance, I honestly felt a little uncomfortable when Jessica has her eyes directly at the camera. Number 24. Carol of the Bells, Silver Bells, Jingle Bells, and Deck the Halls by the Young Americans. Similar to Up With People's performance back in 2007, we have another non-profit organization group called the Young Americans, as they're getting ready to celebrate the group's 50th anniversary next year. And for this occasion, the present members all dress up as penguins doing a holiday medley of Carol of the Bells, Silver Bells, Jingle Bells, and Deck the Halls. Now, I do like the performance, especially that man in the center who did Silver Bells. I do like the use of the tap dancing for Jingle Bells, and the way how they exited Herald Square was kind of interesting and fun at the same time. But I wish there was more. Number 23. Do They Know It's Christmas and What Christmas Means to Me by Jimmy Fallon and The Roots. For the second year in a row, NBC's late-night host Jimmy Fallon and his band The Roots got to be in the Macy's parade once again. And instead of doing too many Christmas songs at once, they just did 2, with Do They Know It's Christmas performed by Jimmy and The Roots' Captain Kirk Douglas, and What Christmas Means to Me, which was led by The Roots' Trey Totter, also known as Black Thought. Now, this has something that could have been something on Jimmy Fallon's show, But nope, it's still a parade exclusive, as we're going to see continuing the trend with Fallon's appearances in this parade. I do love the combo of the two songs, although I don't have a lot of feelings towards What Christmas Means to Me, because that was my first time hearing that song when I first saw that performance, and maybe Do They Know, but I don't really have a memory of that. Having Jimmy and Kirk doing the main lyrics of Do They Know worked so well, and Drake doing the other was good on him to sing. Also, I did recognize the Roots from this year more so than usual of who they were. Not because of their appearance in last year's parade, but they made an appearance on Yo Gabba Gabba. Just FYI to mention about that. Only catch is that the performance is a little faster than I thought it was, even if it was a minute and a half. Number 22, Blue Skies by Betty Buckley. For her fourth Macy's parade, the legendary Betty Buckley performs Irving Berlin's Blue Skies from her upcoming album, produced by her longtime friend T-Bone Burnett, Ghostlight, as track number 3, and would not be released until 4 years later in 2014. It makes it feel like more like a parade exclusive for these years. Now, after waiting for 4 years to hear the full version of this, how does it stand? It's fine, definitely a calmer rendition of the classic Berlin song, but there is another version I kept thinking of a Broadway musical 6 years from now. But the parade performance works so well, especially when she was 65 at the time, and her happiness definitely felt that veteran status she had of her career. Number 21, We Need a Little Christmas by Stage Door Manor. After their debut last year, the kids of Stage Door Manor returns for their second parade, as they are raising the roof on the new Office Max float, all dressed as elves, performing We Need a Little Christmas. What an insane party it was for these elves. I mean, I have more of a nostalgic of the Muppets singing this in A Muppet Family Christmas, which is the best rendition of the song, but this is definitely a second place one. Although it doesn't have the same impact as the group's performance from last year, and also the color choices for the costume on the kids is just odd to me. They should have matched the color of the elf that pops in and out of the float, and I'm guessing that elf holding the present is the one that says, "Need a little Christmas," as the camera pointed to it. Number 20, Y No Regresas by Juanes. This would be the early stages of trying to get a lot more non-English language songs in the parade, the biggest for the 2010s being Latin. Sure, John Cicada did perform in Latin back in the 1995 parade, but for 2010, Grammy and Latin Grammy winner Juan Esteban Esterbeles Vasquez, going by his name Juanes, his stage name to be precise, from Colombia, made his fifth album, Parce, P-A-R-C-E. Performs track number 8 or 10 for the deluxe edition, Y No Regresas, which means "and you don't return" in English. I was kind of surprised at how shorter it was when I looked at the lyrics. The instrumental break probably threw me off a bit. And the use of the song in the parade was great, and I felt like him on Macy's Jolly Polly Pirate Ship was a great connection for him to be on that float for some reason. Only thing is, I don't usually come back to the song more so than other non-English songs I've heard, even some that have performed in the parade in the next few years, and I think it was at my young age at 10 was not ready for non-English songs, especially Latin songs yet. That would be similar to a non-English language films for me as well, and now I've had a lot more respect for it as an adult. Number 19, Steal Your Rock and Roll by the cast of Broadway's Memphis. Last year, a brand new musical about an underground dance club in the segregated city of Memphis, Tennessee in the 1950s, which sparked a revolution for a white radio DJ on how his passion for black music to change the course of American culture, called Memphis, making its Broadway debut. By 2010, it ended up winning 4 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, and on Thanksgiving Day, the cast becomes the first performance in the song roster with the final number of the musical, Steal Your Rock and Roll. And if you listen to the beat and hear what's in your soul, you never let anyone steal your rock and roll. Na 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 na. That does have a catchy main verse, but the rest of it, not by much. You might understand the number in context of the musical, but just on its own, you don't understand what the song is about while avoiding the stereotypical answers. All the actors are doing a fine job singing it, and they seem all having a great time near the end of the song. I also noticed that there might have been some audio differences between the cast recording album and in the parade, but I might be wrong on that, but let me know if you hear a massive difference. There was also the part of one of the supporting characters under the number that was cut off for the parade, but does get a little bit to shine, but the other main verse, I can't steal my rock and roll without having any context of the song, in terms of the musical. Number 18. Folsom Prison Blues, Who Do You Love, Long Tall Sally, and Whole Lot of Shakin' Going On by the cast of Broadway's $1 Million Quartet. For those who don't know, on December 4th, 1956, four of the greatest music artists at the time, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Elvis Presley, and the rising new star Jerry Lee Lewis, came together for a recording jam session album called $1 Million Quartet. Nearly 54 years later, that turns into a jukebox Broadway musical, as each of the four Broadway actors playing these iconic singers, with Johnny Cash's hit Folsom Prison Blues, Bo Diddley's Who Do You Love, covered by Perkins, Little Richard's Long Tall Sally, covered by Elvis, and a new version of Big Maybell's Whole Lot of Shakin' Going On from Jerry Lee Lewis. First up, you can't do full versions of all four songs in a span of like 8 or 10 minutes, because you can't really do that. You have to minimize all four of them, which doesn't go well in the order by the parade performance, because Who Do You Love and Folsom Prison Blues should have been swapped by the order of the show and the cast recording album. Now, out of all the four songs, my favorite is Folsom Prison Blues. Then it goes Long Tall Sally, although I felt like when I was a kid, that was not a great Elvis impression for the show. Then Who Do You Love, which is so short, and Whole Lot of Shakin' Going On, which was the final number of the musical, is a bit long, even for the parade as well. So which version do I love? Well, baby, with all the shaking going on, I can say Johnny Cash can leave the building, and the other three need to work better of their song choices. Number 17. Freak the Freak Out from Victorious by Victoria Justice. For the third year in a row, a star of the Nickelodeon show took over the Build-A-Bear workshop float with backup dancers for the second year in a row, as Victoria Justice, who was on Zoe 101, now taking the lead in Victorious, performs the title song of one of the episodes from the show, Freak the Freak Out, that was co-written by the series creator Dan Schneider, got a single release, and later be on the show's soundtrack the following year as track number 2. I will state, around this time, I actually did have a crush on Victoria Justice. After finding out my original crush, Miley Cyrus, was smoking, thanks Inside Edition, so I changed to Victoria, although I honestly never really watched Victorious comparing to iCarly. I think it was just her looks why I had that crush on her, so I was happy to see her in the parade that year. It's just the song choice would have not been my pick. Don't get me wrong, she sings it so well, it's just it would have been interesting if they would have done the theme song to the show, Make It Shine. Also, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, for the single release, that they say it's by the cast of Victorious featuring Victoria Justice, which makes no sense. Because Victoria is the only one that sang the song. This even happens on some of the other releases of the songs from the show. What were you thinking, Nickelodeon? Number 16. Get Out of My Way by Kylie Minogue. From down in Australia, Kylie Minogue has been one of the most top recording artists from Down Under since her first album in 1989. Now in 2010, she released her 11th album, Aphrodite, which track number 2 she performs that got a single release, Get Out of My Way. What's the worst thing that can happen to you? Well, go crazy for a song that you heard in school dances at the time. I mean, the main phrase is so catchy, but I don't usually remember most of the lyrics and how fast-paced the song goes. I do love the parade performance for a good use of the song, and a great timing on how the music from that song goes well with the music for the Hello Kitty balloon begins to play. And I like Kylie's outfit she had on, and I can tell she's not usually used to this cold weather as it is spring down there in her home country. Number 15. Settle by Gladys Knight. Known as the Empress of Soul, 7-time Grammy winner and Apollo Theater Hall of Fame alumni, Gladys Knight performs a new non-album single for the first time in her solo career, if you don't count collab songs, called Settle. I do really like this song of that modern soul you get on why she has been a legend since the 70s, and even a good use of the song for the parade, although it did felt a little long for the full version of the song. But like You No Regresas, I don't usually come back to the song more often, and I don't usually remember the lyrics. Also, when she waved, I'm guessing she waved at the NBC booth and probably towards Al Rooker, because I believe, if I'm correct, Al interviewed her earlier on that morning on the Today Show. Number 14. Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by the cast of Broadway's American Idiot. From the band Green Day, a musical based on their songs called American Idiot, based on the band's 2004 album. It only lasted for 1 year, but it did win 2 Tonys and the Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album. As much as everyone loves the musical version of Green Day songs, one song not from the original album is the Curtain Call song, which is their 1997 hit Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, to end the show. Now everyone knows this song by heart, as it has been considered the best song from the band. The Broadway version had something by having all the cast members playing a guitar and singing it as a way to say goodbye when the show ended. Although you can't get the Broadway cast recording album digitally, this song is not included except for the audience who went to see the show on Broadway and got a free digital download. And since the show had ended, why isn't it part of the album now? There is one you can find on YouTube, but remember, YouTube doesn't count. Rules in the description below. And the parade not only had an audio difference, but it was also shorter than I thought it was. Number 13. Yes, Virginia, There's a Santa Claus, from Yes, Virginia by Ann Hampton Callaway, featuring the Young People's Chorus of New York City. Ending the celebrity roster of 2010, for her 4th parade, Ann Hampton Callaway joined by the Young People's Chorus of New York City, debuting the song that would be based on the 2009 animated special, Yes, Virginia, with Yes, Virginia, There's a Santa Claus, written by William Skipperhorn that's in the credits of the special. Which this is based on the ever-famous Yes, Virginia 1897 editorial about a girl named Laura Virginia O'Hanlon Douglas, who at 8 years old wrote a letter and asking the question, is there a Santa Claus? And yes, people, Virginia O'Hanlon was a real person. 2 centuries later, this does give us an emotional finale of having Callaway being the perfect singer to perform the song, and even on the float with the fake snow in the finale, and having live actors of Virginia and Ollie skating. Only things is that the chorus wasn't loud enough for their performance, and the full song is a little long at 4.5 minutes. And although you can't get this on Skimmerhorn's SoundCloud page, you can get the single release of the song on other digital platforms, including iTunes, Apple, and Spotify. Number 12. Try a Little Tenderness by Michael Grimm. Fresh off of winning Season 3 of America's Got Talent, Michael Grimm released his 3rd album overall with Leave Your Hat On, with some of the songs he had covered on AGT when he was competing. On Vegas Week, he performs Otis Redding's cover of Try a Little Tenderness, which would be track number 11 on his album. Whoa! Michael crushed it with this song, being almost very accurate to Otis's cover of the song. I mean, how he crushes the song of doing the various sounds when he got to the climax, especially how it built up for the parade, but it did felt a little shorter comparing to the full version of his cover, just in the parade to be precise. Number 11. Noche Bueno from Dora's Christmas Carol Adventure by India Arie. 2010 marked the 10th anniversary of the Nick Jr. series Dora the Explorer, and after 5 years with the Dora balloon, we would have 5 years with Dora on a float, which for 4 years was based on the 2009 special Dora's Christmas Carol Adventure. The first song that was performed in the special was Noche Bueno, which means Christmas Eve in English, as Dora, Boots, and her pals are setting up for the Christmas party. It would be added as track number 11 in the holiday album Dora's Christmas, and joining with Dora and Boots in the parade is India Arie Simpson. Now, listening to the song in the special, I will admit I don't have a feeling for the voices for some of the characters around this time. Because I grew up with the original voice actors of the characters during the first few seasons. Yes, I did watch Dora a bit when I was a kid. So sounding for them so much younger than I I felt were very odd to me, but that's because, of course, some of the original actors had already hit puberty, and we kind of understand it now. Listening to the one in the parade, I noticed it is the same audio of the song and voices in the background, but toned down to match India's voice, which I think it sounded better. Also, I thought with her singing the song, I thought her version was going to be in the credits in the special when I first saw it. But nope, it's just a parade exclusive. Number 10, Sparkle, Jolly, Twinkle, Jingly by the cast of Broadway's Elf. Yep, what the heck is that supposed to mean? Well, you'll find out in the Broadway musical of Elf based on the 2003 holiday movie starring Will Ferrell, where in the musical, Buddy enters into the department store, known as Macy's for this musical adaptation specifically of Elf, as Buddy, the store manager, and the rest of the employees brings the holiday spirit with the number Sparkle, Jolly, Twinkle, Jingly. Buddy definitely knows how to get into the holiday spirit for Macy's with a number like this, although this little opening that he had at the beginning of the number was not in the parade performance. The number is more of a half and half scenario, as you do get some great lyrics, but you kind of have a little bit of a long dance break in between. But the choreography is great, minus the bouncing balls part. I think I've never seen a store manager to be so that happy for some human mistaken as an elf being in the Christmas spirit that tries to have a long title like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious does mark this the best Broadway song of 2010. Number 9. Beautiful Day by the Contestants of NBC's The Sing-Off. For its second year in a row, NBC had an a cappella competition show called The Sing-Off. This was the show that got Pentatonix famous the following year. For a preview of the upcoming season, 14 stars from each of the 10 groups do a cover of U2's Beautiful Day, which got a solo single release and added in the Best of Season 2 soundtrack as track number 1. Since this was a pre-parade act, the entire song was performed, and I really enjoyed a mixture of majority of members coming to sing one song together, although it's odd that the NBC mics are not similar to the ones we usually see in the parade. What I do like about this is how diverse the contestants they chose to perform this from any demographics, from race, some women, and even age, which one of them is actually the late Jerry Lawson. Also, I honestly thought this was a parade exclusive, but nope. After some research from a month or two ago, when I was getting ready to start this decade, I found it, and I now have it on my iTunes. Number 8. Pretty Girl Rock by Carrie Hilson. Her name is Carrie, she's so very fly, oh my, it's a little bit scary, as she performs her single release from her upcoming second album, No Boys Allowed, don't hate her cause she's beautiful, with Pretty Girl Rock. Both the album and the song have received mixed reviews by critics, with some positives including myself with this song, as it is basically on how, and I quote, every woman should feel about herself, no matter what anyone tells you, which that's basically a sum-up quote from what Hilson had said while she was making this song, which, by the way, was actually co-written by Bill Withers and Neo. There is even a featured version with Kanye West that would have been awesome to have the two perform together, but you know Kanye would not want to be on a girly float with Pink on it. More on him later. One thing I did notice in the parade, though, that they did censor some of the words for a family-friendly audience. Probably some of the lyrics were too sexual, I guess. And although it was only the first part of the song, I didn't like how it ended when it was going into commercial, better than the other 2 years with the My Princess Academy float specifically. Number 7. Deck the Halls by Mannheim Steamroller. Here's something we haven't seen in a while, an instrumental performance. As the most talented music group, Mannheim Steamroller, well known for their Christmas albums, performs, which are the current members of the time, one of the most famous renditions of Deck the Halls from their first Christmas album in 1984 called Christmas as track number 1. Does everyone agree with me on this? With one of the greatest Hollywood music artists of all time with this rendition? I know this was the first song from the album, but it holds its impact, and definitely mine's, and hopefully a lot of yours, favorite rendition of Deck the Halls. Only catch that the parade performance only did the first minute of the song, and I'm pretty sure the violin doesn't start playing until after the first minute, but I think they would have had a better impact of the song in another year. but we would be seeing these guys again for the next 3 years, which means the next 3 episodes. Number 6. This Land Is Your Land by Arlo Guthrie. The son of the legendary folk singer Woody Guthrie, Arlo Guthrie, along with his daughter, Sarah Lee Guthrie, performs his father and her grandfather's greatest song he has ever made, an American classic, This Land Is Your Land. I have seen some of his performances of this song through YouTube, but ironically, the audio here in the parade is not from any of Arlo's soundtracks, or even in his live ones. It's more of a parade exclusive, and we don't get the full version of the song. What I do like about it, it's the parade impact, because if you can see in the background, the crowd are singing along and even waving their hands both side to side. I really like that. It makes me want to join along. Number 5. Music Deep Inside by the cast of Sesame Street. The cast of Sesame Street starts a brand new decade as the cats, led by their neighbor Layla, with the kids playing instruments, performs the 2009 song Music Deep Inside from the show's episode 4220, where Elmo learns how to get other people to sing along with him instead of using Abby-Gadabby's wand. In the show, it is definitely has an interesting use with the cast with the lyrics, and it does go well on how it's setting at night with the lights and the smoke effects, but the parade is even better compared to the one you see in the episode. Because instead of some of the cast with some unknown humans and unknown Muppets, you got all the adult human cast you know on the show, and your favorite Muppet residents, including Big Bird, who wasn't even in the episode Streak segment, by the way, and also Oscar tries to hide away from the camera. But also the instruments and a lot of the horn families with the guitar work so well, and even better in tone than the one in the episode, even though they're kind of so similar. Number 4. Till I Forget About You by Big Time Rush. A year ago, Nickelodeon created a brand new show and a brand new band of the same name with 4 guys named Kendall, James, Carlos, and Logan called Big Time Rush. One of the few live-action Nickelodeon shows that was not created by Dan Schneider, as it was created by Scott Fellows, who also created Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Less than a year later, the band finally got their first album with BTR, which is the short initials of the band, as the group performs track number 1, their debut single, Till I Forget About You, which made its debut in one of the show's episodes, Big Time Fans. And what a great way to start for the group's first single hit. Although I think Boyfriend is their better song, but it is another great song choice from them to rock out in the parade, especially jumping up and down on the Hess Corporation float. Only thing is some of the lyrics are not that memorable to sing along to party like a rock star. Number 3. Best Days by Eric Hutchinson. Starting the celebrity roster of 2010, we got a young singing sensation named Eric Hutchinson premiering one of his songs, Best Days, from his upcoming second album, Moving Up, Living Down, as track number 2, which wouldn't be released until 2012. Jeez, 2 songs from this year that got a late release in stores and on digital platforms here. Ever since I've heard this song, I really liked it, and like the past 3 years, I skipped the Broadway ones when I rewatched it through the VHS, so this was usually my first song from this year's parade. There is a bit of a difference here between the parade version and the recorded version, not to mention like Blue Skies and Maybe Beautiful Day. This almost felt like a parade exclusive for a while. And now looking at the parade performance, with the echo you hear, I wonder if Eric actually sang this live or not, but we can't tell. For the full version, I really like the lyrics and even a great use of a 4-minute length. Although I keep thinking of Eric's tone from the parade than in the album, but it was a great start to celebrate the parade at Herald Square. Number 2, Lost in the World by Kanye West. Okay, let me make one thing clear here before a majority of you unsubscribe. Let me get this out of the way. Me having this high doesn't mean I support this massive egotistical person. I'm just judging on the song alone. With that out of the way, yes people, back in 2010, Yeezy himself, Kanye West, made his first and most likely only parade appearance, as he performs his widely acclaimed hit Lost in the World, which was track number 12 of his highly acclaimed 5th album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which even features the folk band Bon Iver in the album. Despite of me disagreeing on many of his beliefs, I will confess I actually love this song. I mean, the start of that massive build-up all the way up to the ending just worked so well, and Kanye's rap was so good here, and I can easily sing along or even rap along with the lyrics here. And like Pretty Girl Rock, Kanye was just on his own without Bon Iver, because it is hard to get collabs in the parade. And they did censor a lot of his words since it was an explicit song. But I do love his movements he did for the song and his look at the end of that performance. Only thing is, I don't like the ending of the actual song where it goes, whoa. It just felt odd placed to me. Whether you like him or not, and I know he might be wondering why he's not at number 1 on this ranking, you have to admit this is a great song. And my number 1 song from the 2010 Macy's Parade is Wild at Heart by Gloriana. In 2008, 4 country singers, one of them being Cheyenne Kimball, that we saw back in the 2006 parade, formed a band called Gloriana. A year later, in 2009, they would release their self-titled debut album, which has received mixed reviews by critics. But one song that was a big hit to many critics, thanks to its single release, is track number 12 that they performed in 2010, Wild at Heart. As the Macy's Parade is basically a party, this song is basically you want to hear at a party. And that's where this song comes in at the top. Even if Lost in the World was so close to being at number 1, and it's not because I'm too scared to put Kanye West at number 1 to avoid losing subscribers, it's just Wild at Heart is a great song that fits in the parade. 3 years in a row that the Jimmy Dean float had a great placement of performers. And I also did kind of showed us how we're halfway through the parade, as the excitement was still getting kicked on when I was seeing it, even when I saw what was coming up like Shrek and Kai Kai and Kiki. Although this country band didn't last long, and even Cheyenne left the group earlier before the official disbandment, but there is one legacy that it does hold up, for this 2009 song marks it the best song of the 2010 parade. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this episode, you can hit that subscribe button if you are still willing to, even if I had Kanye West song at the top of this list. Comment down below your personal rankings on the 26 songs. With one executive producer retiring and a new executive producer leading, we also go into 85 years, a new co-host, a new announcer, as well as a high win threat as we head into 2011.